Oh, and that's 1/4 inch thick aluminum. I'm not sure exactly how that worked, but my welder, I don't think it's supposed to be able to melt right through 1/4 inch aluminum. I guess if you go slow enough you can anyway though. But anyway, I'm very pleased that I can melt right through 1/4 inch aluminum. Very exciting stuff. So now all I have to do is put some kind of tension thing on the belt here, which is actually fairly loose. That's not a good thing. So I just have to tip up the alternator by this screw and a thing down here. That should do it. Get up there! Yeah, and then I should be good. Should be able to weld things like crazy, looks like. Without having to stop and like reset my generator every, 5 or 10 minutes. I think I've got it worked out. I bolted this thing, I cut it so it would fit here. And it has to lift on the alternator to kind of tip it away and increase belt tension. So I'm going to stick a spring under here and then screw this side down to here. Except the spring has to be higher, so first I'm going to put a few of these in, glue them in place, then get the spring in there, and then bolt down back here. And it should lift it up. And keep tension on it so the belt stays tight. Alright, I think that does it. I've got the spring in there, and there's a couple screw heads it's sitting on so it can't move around. And then back here, the only thing I had long enough to go from up here all the way down to the bottom was an eye bolt. But this happened to have like a long hole in it, kind of like this one, which the eye bolt fits in. So I used a link of a chain to hold it together. So that shouldn't let it go. Might rattle around a little bit, although there's a lot of pressure on there because that spring's pretty strong. Anyway, the belt is very tight now. Hopefully not too tight. Let's try that again, hopefully without the smoking this time. I think the belt is too tight. Actually, it's totally okay. I just had to start it not connected to the batteries. Couldn't get up to speed. And I came way over here because it's kind of loud over there. The only problem will be if it stalls from the sudden need for power. See how it goes. Totally stalled it. I do have some ideas on how to give the motor less of a shock when the power starts up. But also I haven't run the motor at full power yet because, it's brand new and I have to break it in first. So I'm going to let it run for a while at like half. Hey, you're supposed to leave it running. You're not supposed to run it at full power for like hours when you first break it in. Anyway. And then another thing I can do is get some more resistance in there. And then I could also just kind of separate the motor from the alternator a bit more with some funny wiring. So that the power gets spread out into the batteries and the batteries will do more, the motor will have to do less. But first I'm going to try seeing if it'll work with just the motor running at full power. So I'm going to let it break in a little more for a while. And I don't want to put a huge flywheel on it. That'd scare the crap out of me and everyone around. I am very optimistic right now that basically the system works. I just need to put some kind of resistance in the wires here in the path between this and the batteries to slow down the electricity a bit. Because this could produce half the electricity it's doing and it would work fine. So maybe I'll do some calculations tonight and figure out what size and length wire I would need to create sufficient resistance to reduce the draw on this by like, I don't know, by like 1/3 or something. Of course, the other option is just to use regular old gen in there that only produces 100 watts to the batteries with the battery charger plug on it. And that would charge the batteries a lot slower, but it wouldn't get overloaded. The only problem is if I weld for like a minute, I have to wait like 10 or 15, 20 minutes, something like that, before I can weld another minute, which I guess wouldn't be the end of the world. You know what? I think I'm going to try that right now before I pack it in for the day. Alright, Jen, you got a job. Let's go. Alright, so maybe I'll just go with that for a while, because that totally works fine. I want to work on Robotron over here, Roboticles, whatever. I'll screw around with that other generator later. Maybe when I really need to weld like a lot of stuff, I'll get that working better. Yeah. Oh, and luckily my thing has a little battery meter down there, which is like halfway up right now. So I can just keep an eye on that and make sure it gets, you know, close to full before I weld again. Now this is only phase 3 or 4 or something of the banana building power situation. So now that I have enough battery banks and a huge inverter to run like huge power tools and stuff, it would be really cool if I had like 100 or 200 watts of power charging those batteries constantly 24 hours a day. Well, wouldn't that be sweet? Well, I've got a stream right over there, and I have like 100 feet of black pipe, and I have some other parts for a huge generator with a thing, and I'll be doing that later though. Oh, that's gonna be so cool. I won't have to like get gas for my generator anymore, and I'll be able to power everything. Oh man, I'm excited about that. That alternator must be putting out more power than I thought. Too bad the store had no idea how much it was. You might be wondering why the system works now with the old generator when it didn't before. One, new battery cables. You saw those. And then the other thing is I also got a new, well, an old big fat battery that I had left somewhere else. When I was down in Florida, I picked it up, brought it back up here, plugged that in. So, yeah. Well, that and bananas. Oh, and before I hear this again, halfway on the little meter thing on the inverter is like 13 volts, which is not halfway depleted in the batteries. Maybe it's phase 5,000. Maybe it's phase 6. Maybe it's phase 5 trillion. I don't know.